All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I won't go through the same list of thank yous, but the same people that have helped on 5 and 4 have helped on 6, so thank them for that. House Bill 6 is introduced, has the basic framework of community-based foster care, which sets overall improvement goals for the agency as well as fully commits the state to community-based foster care. The purpose of HB 6, quite simply, is to improve the foster care system. We'll do this by doing a number of things. First, we provide a clear set of goals for the state's child welfare system so that we know when we're succeeding and when we're failing. The biggest, we commit to expanding community-based foster care until it is implemented throughout the state. Specifically, HB 6 includes bringing on another 2 catchment areas and giving DFPS the statutory authority to go faster if they can. If they can go faster, that would be good. It also gives them the flexibility to change catchment areas and the timing based on when local groups are ready to roll out community-based foster care, something obviously that is critical to successful community-based foster care is having local groups ready to go. It also includes a requirement for DFPS to have an implementation plan for community-based foster care, a requirement to have community engagement oversight group, and also lays out the qualifications for the SSCCs in each area. We included that they must be a nonprofit focused on child welfare. I will say there's a number of details that we are still working on, one of which, interesting on this part, we've had people ask whether or not government entities could be included, and that's something that we are going to be considering, whether local government entities might be able to participate in this as well. Until now, I believe we have been fairly non-committal on real reform in the foster care system and have really hung on to much of the status quo in foster care. For years, we have been putting, in my opinion, 1 foot in and 1 foot out of adopting true reform. I think HB 6 truly commits us to community-based foster care. Community-based foster care, and we'll talk about it a number of times, has a number of beneficial qualities. I think the key one, or some of the key ones, is increasing the capacity of high-quality foster homes to ensure that we have adequate homes in every community. You know, quality, everybody understands, is important for obvious reasons, but the quantity and the location of homes is critical as well, so that we can keep children as close to their homes as possible. Currently, over 30% of kids statewide are being placed outside of their community. That is unacceptable to the kids, but it also creates a tremendous amount of extra work and wasted time and travel for caseworkers, time that could and should be spent with the children. It also engages community-based organizations, community-based foster care does, from all faiths and all backgrounds to try to help fill the gaps in these kids' lives. There are people and organizations all over the state that either can't work their way through the Austin bureaucracy or have simply never been asked. Finally, there is also wording that directs DFPS to streamline their licensing and training requirements, something that Representative Keogh and a number of us have talked about, so that quality foster parents are not driven out of the system by the added burdens that do nothing to enable them to take better care of children. There's a number of issues remaining, details to be hung on this bill. I've already listed some of them. I would mention a couple of others. Exactly what community engagement needs is something that we have had discussions with. What that looks like, we're going to hear some testimony of what it looks like in Fort Worth, but that is something that we're going to continue to be working on, because really the community engagement is the key to making this work better than the current statewide foster care system. We are going to be looking at Good Samaritan protections, both for people and organizations that try to help our most vulnerable kids. Nobody is envisioning protections that protect against people that do bad things. But currently, government, which is where all this is happening, has sovereign immunity, yet our nonprofits go in with no sovereign immunity, and they won't have sovereign immunity. But we must also not make them targets for lawsuit abuse that would remove both money and options for children and punish people for failing to be successful in every single problem child's lives. It's simply not going to be the case. I will make one more point before I close, and I might be talking more as we go through the bill. But when we look at the fiscal note, half of the fiscal note is related to a portion of the bill that includes part-time daycare. as we move down the road, there's a good chance you'll see that as a separate standalone bill because it's not really integral to community-based foster care. I think it's very important. I think it's good policy, but it's something that will be more standalone. So while we're certainly happy to have people talk about it, that's the direction that it's likely heading on that part of the bill. So I look forward to the testimony we'll hear today, and judging from the amount of interest we've received on this bill since filing and a lot of discussion going on some similar legislation in the Senate, I'm sure that the testimony we have today will be helpful in the process as we continue to work with members of the committee and other stakeholders, because the purpose of this is to make our child welfare system in Texas a model that the rest of the country should be following. So with that, Chairman, I'd like to reserve the right to close and save the rest of my comments for later.